The sun hung low over the golden Kansas fields when Sarah Weston, a widowed farmer and single mother of two, typed a letter addressed to the president. She had no political connections, no media influence, just her worn hands and unwavering hope. Her farm, once thriving, was now on the edge of foreclosure due to rising costs and droughts. But the letter wasn't a complaint, it was an invitation. Visit my farm. Join us for lunch to see what we go through and to learn why the ground beneath our feet is more than simply land. It is our heritage. She didn't anticipate a reply. It was not so much a request as it was a prayer. A black SUV arrived on her gravel road 2 weeks later. Agents of the Secret Service emerged first. Then, to Sarah's surprise, Donald Trump appeared in a blue suit without a tie. He looked over the horizon before coming to rest on her former barn. With a little smile, he said, "Miss Weston, I think you invited me to lunch." "Yes, sir, I did," said Sarah, blinking in shock. Trump held out his hand. "Let's eat and let's talk." She guided him to the farmhouse while nodding and twitching her hands. Her kids whispered as they peered in from the doorway. The President of the United States and a modest farm family were seated around a wooden kitchen table that afternoon. Fresh bread, roasted chicken, and homegrown corn were on the menu. But what was really offered that day was a piece of American reality that would alter everything. Sarah used her mother's old checkered linen to carefully prepare the table. The president, who seemed unusually relaxed, remarked, "This smells better than any steak in D.C., as the children, Emily 9 and Josh 11, sat quietly and stole peeks at Trump. Lunch was provided by Sarah. It was simple, unpretentious food, but each bite contained years of perseverance, fortitude, and secret prayers. "Sarah, tell me what it's truly like out here." Trump swallowed his first bite and then looked up. After hesitating, she spoke bluntly. "We're behind on payments, and the drought almost destroyed last season, but we can't give up. I get up at 5, take care of the poultry, check the irrigation, and then prepare breakfast. My kids help us when they're not in school." Trump nodded and chewed slowly as he listened, as though the meal also helped him process the reality. Emily said, "There used to be a large cornfield. Josh said that it dried up last year. Mom fixed the tractor herself when we couldn't. Afford repairs." Trump turned to face Sarah. Sarah grinned. "You're doing a lot with very little. We survive by doing what farmers do." That day, something altered. Trump felt the facts, not simply heard them. Furthermore, Sarah spoke for hundreds of people who were just like her, not just herself. Sarah escorted Trump outside following lunch. The barn's wooden beams creaked with age as they passed through it. Hay bales dotted the stalls like guardians of a bygone past while dust drifted in shafts of sunlight. "This barn is 100 years old," Sarah replied. "Built by my grandfather." Trump touched the frame that said, "Solid work built to last." They passed an old tractor rusting at the edges. "That's our old Massey Ferguson," she remarked, adding, "I fix what I can because I can't afford a new one." He gave a contemplative nod. They then arrived at the field, where half of the crops were barren and had failed due to dryness, while the other half had stunted maize that was only knee-high. "I applied for aid," they said. Sarah stated, "Got denied again." "How? Many other farmers are in the same boat?" Trump asked, surveying the field, the far-off silos and the damaged soil. "But no one comes out here. Instead of on the fields, they make judgments in offices." She sounded exhausted rather than angry. "The type that keeps you awake, doctor? You're really dry." Trump took up a handful of dirt and let it slide through his fingers. Sarah nodded. "Nevertheless, we continue to hope." The president stood silently as the wind rustled his shoes. He was starting to get it. Sarah gave Trump a crumpled, yellowed letter inside the farmhouse. "My spouse," she said. "Tom wrote this before he passed away 3 years ago. If I ever had the chance, he wanted me to share it. To anyone in power who might listen, please don't forget us," Trump said after carefully unfolding it. "We cultivate your food, we endure hardship, loss, and unforgiving seasons. All we want for is justice and a bright future for our children. Honor your commitments. America's farmers must not be forgotten. Trump read it twice. Sarah dabbed at her eyes. Tom died while repairing the combine. He attempted to weld it, but a piece broke. An accident occurred. The room became motionless. Trump raised his head. Compared to most headlines, this letter conveys more. Everyone in this area has a similar story. She stated, "We don't scream loud, so nobody hears us." Trump returned. The letter after folding it. "I heard you," and Sarah thought for the first time in years that someone might truly mean it. Word got out fast. A few nearby farmers showed there in a matter of hours. They were not reporters, but rather men and women with optimistic eyes and dirt-stained hands who brought pie jam and their own tales. Just one dude, Earl, raised his voice. "When a hurricane destroyed my soybeans, my insurance company claimed it was an act of God and refused to pay." An additional, Maria stated, "We donate food to shelters but still pay heavy storage fees." With his legs extended, Trump sipped lemonade while listening on Sarah's porch. "These people are forgotten," Sarah said quietly. "They feed this nation, yet live paycheck to paycheck." Trump lacked his customary bluster. "Why hasn't this reached me before?" "'Cause we're not loud," Earl said. "Perhaps we ought to be on TV, but we're not." The sun was painting the sky orange that night. "I came for lunch, but I'm leaving with a harvest of truth," Trump remarked as he gazed out at the crowd gathering on Sarah's porch. Trump called his chief of staff on a secret line while sitting by himself in the guest room that evening. "We require an urgent meeting. Start examining agricultural policies, particularly those pertaining to drought relief and insurance loopholes for rural aid distribution," he stated. "The system has far too many flaws." "Mr. President, is this because of one lunch?" his assistant asked, pausing. "No," Trump replied. "It's because I finally saw what's behind the silence." He gazed out at the moonlit farm. "They are not requesting handouts. We've made it all but impossible for them to work." The line paused for a long time, then the reply arrived. "I understand. We'll get started right away." Sarah tucked Emily and Josh in before going to bed. "Is he going to help us, Mama?" Emily whispered. Sarah caressed her daughter's hair. Perhaps he will finally notice. He entered and sat next to the bed after Trump overheard him say, "I don't make promises lightly," but he did say, "But I promise I'm going to try." Josh raised his head. "Does that mean we get to keep our farm?" Trump took a while to respond. He simply touched Josh's shoulder. Then he stood up. "You youngsters are braver than most individuals I know. Good night." Sarah observed him as he departed, not as a politician, but rather as a man who seems to have recalled something fundamentally American. Trump joined the family for breakfast the following morning. Biscuits, bacon, and eggs. He made jokes, shared laughter with Josh, and gave Emily props for her depiction of a fantastic chicken. His arrival, meanwhile, had already garnered media attention. The president visits a farm in Kansas. National interest is sparked by the surprise trip. Pundits conjectured, but Trump didn't give a damn since he was studying, not playing politics. "You'll hear from me soon," he said Sarah as he departed that morning. The black SUV then vanished down the dirt road while waving to the kids. However, the seed had already been sown and was growing. Trump entered a cabinet meeting back in Washington and smashed a dusty jar of corn down the table. "Gentlemen, this is America, and it is silently dying." He told the tale of Sarah, the faces of people Tom encountered, and his letter. This is a crisis, not a campaign. After the room grew silent, he gave orders to update the agriculture aid policies, take action against dishonest insurance denials, and give rural households access to mental health care top priority. Since he could now see Sarah's eyes behind every policy, there should be no speeches, only action. At a press briefing 3 days later, Trump read aloud from Tom's letter, "Remember us. Honor your commitments." The room was silent, yet news sources reported on it. Millions of people shared the letter on social media, using the hashtag #ForgottenHarvest. Sarah's tale grew to represent purpose rather than politics. Farmers nationwide felt acknowledged. Sarah didn't even have a television, but her mailbox was stuffed with offers of assistance, prayers, and notes. "Thank you for feeding us even when no one fed you," one person remarked simply. When Sarah went outside a week after the press conference, she discovered a package on her porch. A handwritten note and a brand new tablet satellite Wi-Fi device are included, along with no return address so you may stay connected. Now, DT, the nation is paying attention, Sarah felt, astounded. Later that night, Emily and Josh showed their mother the news coverage on the iPad. Sarah's lines from Tom's letter appeared on the screen as she watched herself. She hadn't felt this optimistic in years, and never thought her small farm would serve as the catalyst for something so significant. Trump made his way back to Kansas, this time accompanied by officials and photographers. A municipal hall was arranged in the gym of a nearby school. Earl, Maria, and Sarah were among the hundreds who attended, but the conversation wasn't limited to politicians. Sarah was asked to take the stage. She spoke plainly and gently. "It's not only about me. Every farmer who sold their last cow to cover expenses, and every mother who buried her husband but continued farming, are the subjects of this story. We're creating, not pleading. We just need a fair chance." The audience erupted in applause, and Trump, who was observing from the side, dabbed at something. The Number Forgotten Harvest campaign gained momentum quickly. Farmers from Montana to Mississippi started sharing their personal tales of perseverance and loss, and people gave money, food, and equipment. To support the farmers, children set up lemonade kiosks. Videos of rural heroes flooded social media. Farmers were suddenly seen as the embodiment of tenacity and were no longer inconspicuous. Additionally, Sarah got a letter from a girl in NYC. "You gave me pride in being an American." Sarah felt like she actually mattered for the first time in a long time. Not everyone was overjoyed. Trump was criticized for exploiting the trip as political theater. Trump didn't bat an eye when others questioned the abrupt changes in policy. Instead, he invited them to the farm to join Sarah for lunch. Most said no, and he spoke to the press. "Who gets credit doesn't matter to me. I'm concerned about Sarah's children's future. Not as a politician, but as a man who saw something genuine and couldn't turn away." He kept his ground. A month later, Trump delivered a special national address from Sarah's porch, rather than the Oval Office. Behind him was the barn. "In the distant clucking chickens, I'm standing where America feeds its soul tonight. These are the front lines of freedom, family, and food security. The area beyond me is not a backdrop, but a battlefield." He unveiled the Heartland Promise Act, a new law that would restructure rural assistance to enhance access to mental health services and give struggling farmers immediate assistance. He concluded by saying, "Let's build a country that doesn't just say thank you to farmers but shows it." Emily submitted her school essay in the same week. She wrote, "My mom is a hero. She wakes up early, works hard, and even when things get scary, she keeps smiling." The topic was, "A hero in my life." The president once joined us for dinner, but the true hero was already seated at the table. It was shared online by her teacher. Sarah received comments from people all around the world after the essay went viral, and she cried as she read them, not out of despair, but because she felt seen. Encouraged by Sarah's resilience, a group of retired veterans came to the farm. "We used firearms to serve our nation." One person said, "You serve it with food." They painted the barn roof, put up new fencing, and assisted in repairing the old tractor. Josh referred to them as Mom's Army. That evening, they all gathered around the fire to share stories while Sarah prepared them pies. "You restored my sense of purpose," a veteran murmured to Sarah. Maybe healing goes both ways, she realized. Sarah penned a letter to Tom that evening while seated at the kitchen table. "Even if no one noticed, you always said that our lives mattered. Well, someone did. And you ought to see the barn painted red once more. The children's smiles have increased, and the president truly fulfilled his promise to Tom." She grinned as she put the letter beneath his picture. Hope had finally returned. Not because life was easy today. The arrival of autumn, Thanks to timely assistance and moisture, Sarah's fields once again blossomed. During the town's first harvest festival in years, Trump made a final appearance. Not for the cameras, but for the community. He even judged the pie contest while sporting trousers and a ball cap. They lit lanterns for all the farmers who had gone by without witnessing any change, including Tom, after Sarah's peach pie triumphed. Sarah muttered, "You were right, Tom." As hundreds of lights ascended into the night sky, we only needed one person to be concerned. A few months later, a new unit called the Farmer Who Changed the Nation was taught in schools. It included Tom's letter and Sarah's children. Tom's name was used to establish a foundation to aid widowed farmers. And there was a brand new wooden sign at the boundary of Sarah's cornfield. One voice fed a country at Tom's Hope Acres. Sarah watched from the fence as the children ran through the golden cornfields. The country was listening, and the countryside was once again alive.